Well, the latest is, we signed and contracted to do a rematch, and that's what it is right now.
Do you know when it's going to be, when we can hear?
I don't got no date right now, but I know that's the next fight that Terence Crawford.
How long do you think it will be before we have some news about that?
I don't know. It's still up in the air, given the first male boxer, undisputed, in any division in the 4-belt era. And I honor, that. And if he was to come to me or activate his...
I mean, it could happen. I mean, why not? If Crawford want to challenge himself to be great, let him try to be great, So, I'm with it. So, I'll be going for Bud. If he fight Canelo, I'll be going for him.
Boxing is in turmoil once again. Just when it seemed like Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. had moved on, talks of a rematch are heating up as of April 2025. And this time, it's not just speculation. Real negotiations are happening behind closed doors. Both fighters are speaking up, and tensions are skyrocketing. Crawford is already challenging Spence's standing in the sport. Let's break it all down.
I wanted to see that immediately after that fight, but now time has kind of ran its course. I don't want to see Errol. I just don't want to see Errol get done like that. That's all. And I believe Errol Spence is a generational talent, great fighter.
Crawford and Spence have never been the type to hold back.
Crawford and Spence have never been ones to hold back. And now that this rematch is becoming a reality, their trash talk is getting even louder. They're taking shots at each other in interviews, on social media, and even in a fiery live exchange. Spence, who hasn't fought since his devastating 2023 loss to Crawford, is coming in with a chip on his shoulder. He insists the first fight didn't tell the whole story, blaming the extreme weight cut to 147 pounds for draining him. Meanwhile, Crawford isn't letting anyone forget how he dominated Spence, knocking him down 3 times and leaving no doubts about the outcome. But Spence isn't backing down.
But you gonna knock my first?
Because I don't want us personally. We talking about what we want to see. I don't want to see it because I know what it's gonna look like. The same as it looked last time.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Errol Spence wasn't the same.
What was wrong with him?
He looked slow. He looked he looked sluggish.
Why?
I can't tell you. I wasn't in camp.
At the division, he dominated for his entire career. All of a sudden, when it came time for this fight, he looked different. Why?
I wasn't in camp with him. I can't tell you. I don't know if his body finally broke down.
This rematch saga has been a roller coaster ever since Spence exercised his contractual right to another fight after his crushing defeat in July 2023. He wasted no time triggering the rematch clause, determined to redeem himself. But the contract was clear. Unless one of them officially declared they couldn't make 147 pounds, the rematch had to happen at welterweight. Spence never filed that paperwork, yet he and his team kept pushing for 154 pounds. Crawford wasn't having it. After dominating Spence, he saw no reason to give him any lead.
That's where the standoff began.
The fight can't be made, but weight can't be used as an excuse and sort of say, I don't feel like it. Like, I'll go up for this guy, but not another guy. So, that's sort of the spirit. The language is very, more precise and very definitive. But the concept is, out of fairness, is, let's not be selective.
Then, Spence's health problems put everything on hold. He underwent eye surgery, faced a long recovery, and doubts started creeping in about whether he could even return at his best. While Spence was dealing with all that, Crawford moved on. He claimed another title at 154 pounds by defeating Israel Madrimov and shut down any talk of a rematch. When reporters pressed him about it, he barely even entertained the idea. Nah, he said, brushing it off. At that point, it looked like the rivalry was dead for good.
Same question, but I want your reaction. Is a Errol Spence rematch on the table still, or?
Nah.
All right, we're gonna wrap that.
I'm trying to tell you.
Now everything is shifting. Crawford isn't shutting the door on a rematch anymore, and Spence is coming at him harder than ever, calling him out at every opportunity. Many fans believe Spence deserves another shot, arguing that the brutal weight cut weakened him and that the fight wasn't a true reflection of his ability. Others see it as nothing more than an excuse, saying Spence got exposed and that a rematch.
I truly believe that the fight would have went that way regardless, because stylistically, the fundamentals on that level, Crawford is just outclasses Errol Spence in every single,
Spence, however, is making this personal. He's accusing Crawford of avoiding him, trying to escape their contract, and pretending the first fight never happened just because he came out on top. But Crawford isn't one to let anyone control the narrative. He's firing back, reminding Spence that he had his shot, that he got completely outclassed, and that he never even looked like he belonged.
Yeah, 54 or 47, but I'm sure he probably gonna push the weight up, but there's no gonna be no change in the decision. The performance still is gonna be the same. Might be even a little bit better. So he might want to watch out before he activate the rematch clause.
Now, both fighters are making it clear they're ready to go to war again. Spence, despite everything, is still confident. He insists Crawford has never fought him at full strength, that he wasn't himself in the first fight, and that this time he's going to prove everyone wrong. Crawford, on the other hand, is laughing at the idea that anything will be different. To him, Spence has always been overrated, too predictable, and if they fight again, Crawford believes he'll win even faster this time. The trash talk is getting more intense by the day, and with both men admitting that real negotiations are happening, this fight is looking more real.
Let's go! As you can see, man, breaking news, Errol Spence then activated that rematch clause to fight Terence again, right? Let's be honest, we all saw the fight. Crawford beat boogers out that boy.
But the war of words is already shaking things up in the boxing world. Terence Crawford and Shakur Stevenson have always been close, bonded by respect, mentorship, and shared goals. But their views on Errol Spence Jr.'s legacy are driving a wedge between them. Crawford, never one to sugarcoat his opinions, has sparked a firestorm by dismissing Spence's Hall of Fame credentials. Stevenson, one of boxing's rising stars, strongly disagrees. The debate has taken on a life of its own, dividing fans, analysts, and even fighters over what it truly means to be Hall of Fame worthy.
You know what I mean? That's a good win. I'm still a fan. I hope he do well. But like, once it got to the point where I moved up in weight and I'm in the same weight as Spence, it's just like, oh man, you ain't fighting nobody. You this, you that, you this, you that. So now they trying to blemish my accomplishment just to boost him up. I'm like, dude, you're not gonna do that, because I can retire right now and be in the Hall of Fame. He couldn't. Everything that I've accomplished, he's still trying to accomplish. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on him. I honestly don't know if he make it to the Hall of Fame with the accolades that he didn't got right now.
Crawford lit the fuse during an episode of the Pound for Pound podcast with Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo. When asked about Spence's legacy, he didn't hold back. He doesn't think Spence deserves Hall of Fame status. His reasoning? Spence only fought in one division. While Crawford acknowledged Spence's accomplishments, unifying 3 welterweight titles and beating top-tier fighters like Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, and Yildiz Ugas, he still argued that it wasn't enough. To Crawford, true Hall of Famers prove themselves across multiple divisions, build an undeniable legacy.
You discredit one of the best wins on your resume. It starts to make people look at your resume with a question mark. Terence Bud Crawford.
That statement sent shockwaves through the boxing community. Crawford wasn't just questioning Spence's career, he was shutting down any conversation about his place in boxing history. Fans and experts immediately pushed back, calling him out for downplaying Spence's success. Some saw it as unnecessary disrespect, while others believed Crawford was just being brutally honest. But the most surprising disagreement didn't come from analysts or former fighters. It came from Shakur Stevenson, one of Crawford's closest allies. When asked about Crawford's comments on Best Women's Boxing Show, Stevenson didn't hesitate to disagree. I feel like Errol had a great career, he said. If it wasn't for Bud, he would have been undisputed. He went and got every belt won by one. I think he's a Hall of Famer. His words challenged the narrative Crawford was trying to push, offering a perspective that
Terence went on Pound for Pound podcast, and he said that Errol Spence will not be a Hall of Famer. Can you just give me your thoughts on that?
I disagree.
You disagree? Why do you disagree?
I feel as though Errol had a great career. If it wasn't for Bud, he would have been undisputed. So he went and got every belt one by one by one. I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Stevenson's stance highlights an ongoing debate in boxing. What truly defines greatness? Does a fighter need to conquer multiple divisions to be considered legendary, or can complete dominance in one weight class be enough? Stevenson believes Spence's reign at 147 pounds was enough to cement his legacy. But Crawford isn't budging. He insists that being a unified champion in one division, even at Spence's level, isn't enough for Hall of Fame status.
I don't think Errol's run was long enough, no Diddy, to automatically put him in the Hall of Fame. He was a very good fighter. If there was a Hall of Very Good, he would be going into that. But Hall of Fame, no. If you were in charge of writing a Hall of Fame speech for Errol Spence, and I was in charge of writing a Hall of Fame speech for Bud Crawford, my Hall of Fame speech, listing my credentials, listing my accolades for Bud Crawford, would sound a lot better than your speech for Errol Spence, bro. Yeah, I don't think unifying and holding 3 titles automatically push you in the Hall of Fame.
This disagreement might not end their friendship, but it's definitely creating tension. Their bond has always been built on mutual respect, but this is one of the few times they've publicly clashed on something major. Stevenson isn't just another fighter giving his opinion. He's someone who has trained with Crawford, looked up to him, and learned from him for years. The fact that he's pushing back so strongly raises questions.
It's up to him. He gave me that opportunity to fight him. It's only right that if that's what he want to do, I'll give it back to him. Outside of him, I was definitely looking for that Jamel Charlo fight, but they just stripped him for the WBO. So now it's going to be kind of hard, becoming a 3-weight world champion if you don't come back and fight Tim Tszyu and be successful after his fight with Canelo.
Meanwhile, Hall of Fame debates are notoriously political, and Spence's case is already dividing boxing's inner circle. Some argue that his ability to overcome adversity, surviving a near-fatal car crash, and still defending his titles makes his resume even stronger. Others believe Crawford is setting a dangerous precedent by discrediting single-division champions, since many boxing legends...
Airwaves of YouTube. Let me make a plea right now to Terence Crawford. I understand you just beat him. You beat him thoroughly. You're the undisputed welterweight champion of the world. The WBO, the WBA, the WBC, the IBF titles. But you hugged him after the fight for a reason. I am making a plea to Terence Crawford. Even if you elect to give Errol Spence Jr. a rematch, please do not do this for at least a year. Please don't do that.
One worthy of the Hall of Fame, no matter what Crawford says.
It ain't like Errol can't take him. I think he's the biggest, stronger fighter. But Errol methodically marches down and breaks you down. I don't know if that can be done to Crawford. I think that Crawford is a marvelous boxer. I think he's got the temperament of a champion that really wants to do damage and be spectacular. He can fight conventional. He can go southpaw. He brought the power with him. And I think the biggest thing is that Errol Spence might have gave him a little bit too much time to match.
This is what I think about resumes, and especially when it comes to these two fighters specifically, because they got a lot of the common opponents.
Yes.
But the day that they fought these opponents is what's uncommon. And so you can pick who you want to pick, and I fought him, and he had I broke both eyes, and then you fought all this and that. Bottom line is, a lot of fighters aren't who they are on Tuesday. They're not that same fighter on Saturday.
You are absolutely
That's the
right.
bottom line.